So, welcome back for week 4 of our series, Friends, okay? How many of you guys have really enjoyed our series, Friends, those of you who've been here for our series? Okay, if it's been your favorite, raise your hand so far this year. If it's been like your second favorite, raise your hand this year. Okay, if it's been like your last favorite, okay, all right, don't raise your hand, okay? All right, so we're in week 4, all right? If you haven't had a chance to be a part of our series, don't worry, we'll bring you up to speed. If you're a guest with us today, welcome to you. We're glad you guys are here to join us and worship with us and have fun and fellowship. So we have a vision statement here, and I need your guys' help on 3, 2, 1 to help me say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Redeemed, unchurched, and walked by God.
All right, man, everybody. All right, we're gonna do a little exercise here, okay? Let's stand up for a second.
Are we switching?
Let's stand up. No, we're not switching seats. Just stand up. All right. Okay, on 3, I need you guys to go, woo! All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo! All right, you can sit down, all right.
That was boring.
Just making sure everybody's awake and motivated, okay? We should be excited that we're here to worship God and to have fun and to learn about Jesus and to be stretched and to reach out to people. We should be excited that God's given us a vision that we're reaching out to others in this community. Our first one that we tried was our food pantry thing, so congratulations for our first outreach. And our second outreach was our Green Tree outreach. So congratulations for you guys reaching out to the community. Know that God's using you to be glorified through your lives and your relationships with Him, okay? So we are in week 4, and we're going to do a fast forward through 1, 2, and 3 in a minute here, but we've had a series foundational text that has kept us focused on this concept of friends and our relationships with other people, okay? And if you're following along in your notes, it's on there. And it says, don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character. Even if we leave this series and don't remember anything, if we can remember this simple concept that if bad company corrupts good character, maybe we can use that to test the relationships that we have with other people. You know, our parents always tell us, don't hang out with so-and-so because they're going to get you in trouble. Well, they're not saying that just because they want to do that and be in control of you, or they want you to do the things that they tell you to, but there's people out there that will get you into trouble, and you'll do things that maybe you wouldn't have done if you wouldn't have hung out with those people. So know that this is a biblical concept for us to apply to our relationships and our friends. Now, who was here week 1 and can tell us our topics for week 1? Anybody remember? Week 1, we talked about Nehemiah. Rebuilding the walls, what?
Something about distraction.
Okay, there we go. Support and distract, all right? Good job, combination there, all right? Air high fives, all right? So we talked about friends that support and distract us, and Nehemiah had some friends that helped him rebuild these walls that God had called them to this city, and they each took a section of the wall and they rebuilt it. But then there was also some people in the story that were there that were distracting Nehemiah. They were trying to help him lose his focus from what God had called him to do. And so we talked about friends and our relationships with people who support us with what God's doing in our lives, and people that distract us from what God's doing, okay? And we talked about friends that are supportive, work with us to help us to achieve what God has planned, and friends that distract us work against us to help us fail at what God has planned. So people who are distractive, they may not intentionally be wanting you to fail, or they may. There's 2 different categories there that we may have to face when it comes to distractive friends, all right? Week 2, we talked about, anybody? It was about James. Okay. Build up. Put down, all right. Build up and put down, all right? And we talked about how the power of the tongue brings what? It brings 2 things. Either cricket? No, it brings life or death, okay? The power of the tongue brings life or death. And we talked about how God's given us this instrument in our mouth, and we can either build each other up and encourage each other and hang out with people who tell us that we're awesome and that they believe in us and that they think that we're going to be successful and they think that we can change people's lives, or we can hang out with people that are going to put us down and make us feel like crap and going to make us feel like garbage and make us feel worthless and we don't even believe in ourselves because of some of these put downs that we experience. So we talked about hurtful words bring people down and encouraging words build people up, all right? Week 3, we talked about real versus two-faced, all right? Or fake, all right? Fake will work. And we talked about David and David's relationships with a few different people, with Jonathan and Michael, and anybody remember the third person? Start with an S?
Samuel, Simon.
Okay, there was
Saul.
Samuel. Saul, good.
Yeah.
All right. And we talked about how the two-faced friends, they may be insecure with their own selves, and so they may try to do things to you or say things about you that maybe isn't accurate because they don't really believe in themselves. And they'll probably break promises, and these two-faced friends will try to destroy your lives because they need to look better for themselves, for other people around them. And so Saul was trying to do this secretly, even though he was pretending that he was friends with David. All right? And then we learned about Jonathan and Michael, and that Jonathan kept his promise to David. Even though Saul, his dad, wanted to kill David, Jonathan kept that promise, all right? And that Jonathan was always there for him, and that he was willing to sacrifice everything he had because he cared about him so much that even his own life we read about in the scriptures. If you missed it, we got our whole diagram over there, my nice artwork of stick figures. All right, so there's our series breakdown. Today we're talking about people that lead us closer to Jesus and people that lead us away from Jesus, all right? So in the original format of this series, what I was planning on teaching was on these two texts for this scripture to help it not be super confusing and for me to have to summarize 6 chapters about 4 different people. I broke it down and actually going to be teaching from a different text, but these scriptures were the original ones that I was going to choose. So if you guys want to read about friends that lead us to Christ or lead us away from Christ, these 2 different chapters, 2 Samuel verses 11 and 12, the story about David and Bathsheba and his friend Nathan that confronts him, okay? That was a friend that led him closer to God. And then the 1 Kings about Ahab and Jezebel was kind of leading Ahab away from God in that direction, okay? So those are 2 texts if you guys want to read. All right, but tonight we're going to get into Proverbs 1, verses 8 through 9. If you guys have a Bible, there's Bibles back there. I'm also going to put it up on the screen here. So it's up to you guys, whichever you'd like to read. So let's get into this text. Pay close attention, friend, to what your father tells you, and never forget what you learned from your mother's knee. Wear their counsel like flowers in your hair, like rings on your fingers. Dear friend, if bad companions tempt you, don't go along with them. If they say, let's go raise some hell, let's beat up some old man, let's mug some old woman, let's pick them clean and get them ready for their funerals, well, load up on top quality loot. We'll haul it all home in a truckload. Join us for the time of your life. With us, it's share and share alike. Oh, friends, don't give them a second look. Don't listen to them for a minute. They are racing to a very bad end and hurrying to ruin everything that they lay their hands on. Nobody robs a bank with everyone watching, yet that's what these people are doing. They're doing themselves in. When you grab all you can get, that's what happens. The more you get, the less you are. All right, so the reason I used the message today was because I felt like it was more applicable to where we're at. In the NIV and in the ESV translations, it talked about like, let's go violent, kill some people, and kind of similar in here, but it's more I use this one mainly because it says, let's go raise some hell, okay? And the reason I chose that was because, maybe when our friends ask us to do stuff, they may not say, let's go murder somebody, okay? Most of us don't have friends that are like, hey, let's go kill so-and-so. Most of us don't have friends that do that, okay? But most of us maybe have friends that say, hey, I got these cigarettes, I stole them from my mom's purse. Let's go smoke one of them, and nobody will know. I'll just spray some cologne or some perfume on us, and I got some mints and some gum, and we won't even smell like cigarettes anymore. Or maybe you got some friends that are like, oh, just have one beer. If you just hold a beer in the hand, the chicks will flock to you. They'll think that you're hot stuff if you go to this party, and even if you don't, drink more than one, just hold one and just drink one. These are the friends that entice us, that tempt us, that pull us into these circles that maybe we don't want to be involved in, but somehow we end up falling into them because of one or two or three little decisions that we make in this process. And so here's this guy who's giving us this wisdom today, and he's saying, look, don't have this bad company with you, because they're going to tempt you, they're going to try to persuade you, and once you start following this course of action, you're going to get stuck in a situation that you don't want to be caught up in. They're going to say, oh, just take one hit of this. If you just take one hit, you won't get stoned, nothing will happen to you. But the problem is that you're going to get hooked, and then you're going to get in trouble, and then there's going to be a string of connecting dots that lead to destruction. This guy, this author, is saying, look, there's some wisdom here, and in the friends that we choose, we're going to choose ones that lead us away from God, or friends that are going to lead us closer to God. So the two friends that we're going to talk about are friends that lead us away from Jesus. They will persuade us to join them. The scripture said, join us for the time of your life. With this, it's share and share alike. So they may say something like, hey, come on, it's going to be a blast. Everyone's doing it. This is the coolest thing. You wouldn't believe how good this beer tastes, all right? You wouldn't believe how awesome this party's going to be after prom. I mean, it's going to be off the house. I don't even know what the words are for that, all right? But it's going to be sweet, okay? And so we're going to be like going to this, and there's going to be all sorts of cool stuff, and everybody's going to be there, and it's going to be awesome, and you're going to be looking cool if you come and show up with me. And so we may sit and we may think, well, maybe this isn't exactly what I would do, but, they're my good friend, and they'll start using that against you. They'll start saying, well, we're best friends, right? And you want to support me, and, I want to support you, so, come with me. But the problem is maybe they don't have anybody else supporting them, so they're starting to grab hold of you and to start pulling you into the mess that they're stuck in. And so you get enticed and drawn in a little bit, and maybe you're like, well, I really don't want to go to that party, because if I do, I might end up doing something I don't want to do. I don't want to hang out with those people, because if I do, I may end up stealing, and I don't want to experience, community service or going to jail or whatever. But the problem is, those friends that we think that are friends, they're quickly to say, well, I'm not going to be your friend if you're not going to do this. I mean, I thought we were friends, right? We've all gone through that before. We've all had those friends that have said, well, obviously we're not good enough friends if you're not going to do this with me. I had them when I was your guys' age. And you know what I can tell you? I'll look at each one of your faces. Those friends aren't worth your time. Kick them out of here. Bring them to me, and I'll give them the boot, all right? Because those friends and those relationships aren't worth your time, because they're going to persuade you into doing more, which is going to lead us to the second part. Friends that lead us away from Jesus tempt us to make bad choices. Once we're persuaded to follow along and to buy into whatever they're trying to sell us, then it's just this chain of poor decisions, because we get caught up in this mess, and next thing you know, we're at this party and we really don't want to be there. We feel uncomfortable and we know we shouldn't be there, but everybody else is passing this stuff around, or maybe people are dressing certain ways and they're trying to persuade you to dress a certain way so that, maybe guys will look at you a certain way that normally they wouldn't, and you start changing things about yourself, and you get caught up in this circle, and the peer pressure amounts even more, and then you make more choices that you don't agree with because other people are around and they're going to look down on you. It says, if they say, let's go raise some hell, let's heat up, let's beat up some old man, let's mug some old woman. Nobody says that, okay? If your friends are saying that, bring them to me and I'll beat them up. Because you need to really think about your friend choices if they want to beat up some older people, okay? That's ridiculous. But the reason that I use this text is because it's extreme, but what we're experiencing is people that are telling us, hey, let's go do this. And maybe it doesn't seem as extreme as our scriptures, but we're getting stuck in these moments. Can you hang on a second? Now, friends that lead us closer to Jesus, on the other hand, these are the good side. These are the friends we want to run around with because we're not going to get stuck in these choices. Help our faith to get stronger. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. We're like, okay, what the heck does that mean? Analyze it. So what this means is if we hang out with people that are in the same faith with us, that believe in Christ and that want us to grow in our relationship with God, they're going to get in our face and they're going to say, look, I know what you do from this time to this time. Are you still doing that? They're going to call us and they're going to say, look, I know you got an eating disorder and I know that you're struggling with it and I'm praying with you and we're going to get through these things. Because those friends are going to do whatever they can to make you stronger in your faith, to hold you accountable, to push you closer to Christ because they want you to grow. They don't want you to get stuck in the garbage. And so as iron sharpens iron, as you get strengthened by your friends that are Christians, that are encouraging you in your faith, you're going to strengthen them because you're going to continue to challenge them and help them grow in their faith. The second part, they help us to be sacrificial. Jesus tells this whole thing about I'm the vine, you are the branches, stay connected to me, and then he goes into this part right here. He says, there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. If we're hanging around friends that are living this lifestyle of Christ, that are sacrificial in everything that they do, in their words that they say, in their time that they give you, if they're sacrificing whatever they have so that you can grow in your faith with Christ, then those are going to rub off onto you. Just like iron sharpens iron, you're going to learn to grow in your faith with Christ, to be sacrificial, to stop being selfish and to be selfless so that other people can learn and experience the Christ that you have. Now earlier throughout the series I've been putting friends up here, all right, of people that have been close to me, that have helped lead me in my relationship with Christ and lead me closer to God. Up here on the left, this guy with the red circle around his head, his name's BC. I don't even know where this guy's at nowadays, but this guy, I went on a mission trip to Katrina, to Louisiana when Katrina hit, and this guy reached out to me after we got back from this mission trip. He saw that God was stirring something inside of me. He said, look, there's this worship experience that happens every Tuesday night. It's called Overflow. All it is college students coming and singing and worshiping Jesus. You should come and check this out with me. And even though this guy didn't do much other than that, than inviting me to this worship service, that worship service was something that Christ used to glorify himself. Me getting on my hands and my knees and bawling my eyes out and saying, Jesus, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm being an idiot. I need to get things right in my faith. And I went to Overflow all throughout my college career because this guy invited me to it, because he welcomed me to that experience. The guy to the right with the blue circle around his head, Matt McKee, I met him my freshman year as well. And he reached out to me. If you can see in this picture with BC, me in the back row, I got red hair, okay? I was one of those kids that you guys don't want to talk to in school. I was one of those kids that had piercings, that had red hair, that had blue hair, that had green hair. I had all of the weirdest colored stuff. I was a weird kid, okay? But you know what? This kid with the blue circle reached out to me and invited me to a freshman Bible study. And through that freshman Bible study, I met men who would encourage me to grow in my faith throughout my college career. This guy down here in the bottom, Jeff Moore, he's a pastor at the Yukon campus for Life Church. while I was in college, he was in Stillwater. He met with me every week to make sure that I was growing in my faith, to make sure that he was challenging me and my thoughts.